Good evening and welcome in on this Thursday evening. Quite a pleasant sort of evening, although we have a few clouds gathering now. My name is Helen Jennings. I'm a Stampin' Up demonstrator based here in the UK if you've not joined me before. And on Thursday evenings we come in and do a little bit of live crafting. And as a little bit of a clue, our product of the week this week is actually the Bird Ballad Suite, and that's what we're going to be playing with. I'm just digging about trying to find us on Facebook as well, so let's just click that button and hopefully that will chug along. So hello, do come on and say hello, do tell me what you're up to this evening. And if you're sitting looking out at the garden like I am, do let me know if you've seen any birds. I did sit here one day and there was 3 goldfinches out on the patio, but at this precise moment I don't seem to have any birdie friends joining me. But I do seem to have left my phone on, so let's turn that to silent so we don't get lots of pings throughout the course of the evening. So the Bird Ballad Suite, a really beautiful suite, and on Monday we looked through all the different papers, and my papers are very well chopped into, but you get lots of bird images, quite obviously feathers, beautiful flowers, as well as some lovely background papers and things, all sorts of different birds, really lovely. And the birds that were in the papers, they were sort of hand drawn, sent away to be printed, and then when they came back they were coloured with our blends. So that's really useful because that means that you too, you too can copy the colouring scheme that are on these birds. So it's the Bird Ballad Suite we're going to be looking at, and in the Bird Ballad Suite you've got a stamp set, which is I think underneath the catalogue. We'll find that in a moment. There's some dies that go with it in a bundle, but they're not dies that cut out the birds, they're actually the stitch label dies, and we will be using those this evening. Really useful. You've obviously got your papers, you have the beautiful tin that contains, let's see if I can stretch and actually reach the tin. My tin is actually empty because, well, actually it's got a couple of envelopes in, but you get this beautiful tin, and the tin contains 12 laser cut cards, and we used one of those on Monday, so we'll have a look at that again in a minute to remind you what those laser cut cards look like. And we're going to be using some of those in a class tomorrow, which is why my tin is now empty. The other things that are in this bundle, if I just reach over the back here, one is this lovely lace trim. It's really beautiful, so it's sort of like a very vanilla lace trim, 3/8 of an inch, centimetre wide, and then you get these lovely trinkets, so like sort of an antique bronzy almost effect, little trinkets, and there's flowers and this leaf and a little bow, and a key. And we might be using one of those this evening. I haven't really quite made my mind up on that one yet. We'll see as we go along. And as with all of our bundles, if you saw all of that lot and said, yes, I want all of that, without any exception, you do have this nice bundle code here. So you could have all of that for £88.25. But obviously you can also mix and match. You can buy the stamp set and dies as a bundle. You can pick and choose anything you like, and you will find the links to my store. I will put those on the when I edit this video, I will put those at the top, so you'll be able to go and hunt those out for yourself. So let's put this to one side for now, in case we need to come back to it. Here is that stamp set close up. You've got this branch with these 4 little birds perched on it. You've also got a bird on his own. You've got these 3 little flowers, the big flower, the small flower, and the little bud. And you've also got this leaf image just there. So all nice line drawings just waiting to be coloured in one way or another. And then you've got all these nice sentiments with the best of friends. Hello, thanks for being you. The world needs more of you. Thank you. And your friendship means the world to me. So a really nice font. Really nice stamps. And these are, there is one missing because we're going to use one of those in a minute, but these are the dies. So these are the stitch label dies. really incredibly useful. I've used these an awful lot since I've had them. Like with many of our other dies, you get the 2 rows of stitching and you get your cut line in the middle there. So this line will stitch the piece that cuts out, and this line will stitch the piece that's left behind. So whether you actually want the die cut piece to use on your project or whether you want the frame, both will have a row of stitching on, which is incredibly useful. It may be that you want both, and then you get this funny little long die that just gives you a row of stitching, and that is really useful as well, just to add a stitched element to all sorts of things. So those are the dies that go with the stamp set to create the bundle. This is the card that we made on Monday morning. So this is using those laser cut cards, really pretty. We've backed that with a piece of very vanilla cardstock, and we just used the flower stamps on Monday to create that pretty topper to go on there, and we've got some of those embellishments in there as well as a bit of twine. So a really pretty card made using that laser cut card. And here's some that I've made on other occasions. So this was one that I showed again on Monday. So this was one that I'd cased from the catalogue a month or so back for the county tour classes. These are ones I made very early on when I first got the bundle, with this beautiful lace die in the back here. I haven't used that nearly enough. It is just stunning, and just adds a real wow to any card, and all it is just cut from a piece of card and stuck on, but it is just so beautiful. So that's that one. There's a couple here that we're using the same paper, but just slightly different on the top. This is the single bird, this is the little birds on the branches. This one's got some of that lace trim on it, but really lovely. And then this little one here, there is some birds, can you see those in the background, sort of stamped off very faintly in the background, and then you've just got these pretty patterned papers. Again, another of those embellishments, some fussy cut leaves, some vellum punched leaves, so really pretty. So there's some cards that we've made previously, and I'm sure I've made more than that, but that was just a little bundle that I'd found. But what about this evening? I've got a cup of tea, so I'll have a slurp of that, and we'll look and see what we're going to do today. I thought we'd do a diamond top fold card today. I thought we'd do a bit of a fancy fold. I thought it's no good just showing you that. You really need to know how I got from a piece of card to a card that looks like that. And they're really quite simple. It just is a question of knowing the measurements, as is always the case with any of these things. So I have got a piece here, an A4 piece, so this is UK sizings, but I'm sure you'd be able to, well, one, I'm sure you'll be able to find a sort of American sized Pinterest sort of posts with these card techniques on that would give you the right measurements. As I say, this is if you use A4 card. So what we're going to do to start off with the short side at the top, we're going to score it down the middle at 10.5 centimeters. So that's scored our card in half. Then we're going to swing it round, and we're going to score it again at 10.5 centimeters. So that means that these are squares. So when it came to, if you're doing American sizings, you know, whatever this size is, I think it would probably, is it 4 1/8, you'd need that to be as well. So that's that, scored in half, scored at 10.5 centimeters. And then what we need to do is we need to place it at 14 centimeters, and on that center line I need to make a bit of a mark just so that I know. Can you see that? That's the 14 centimeter mark. And then I'll also need to mark it on either side at 18 centimeters. So there we are. We've got, I don't know if you can pick that up. Got a mark just there, and an opposite one on this side just here. So what we need to do then is we need to score a line that's going to go from that centre point just there, and you can line that up quite easily in this trimmer, and most trimmers have got a way to line these up. That's just lined up in the centre of that groove, and then we need the line, that the mark that's on the side, which is just there, to be in the centre of the groove just here. So let's bring that round. You could also use a embossing tool and a ruler for this. In fact, sometimes that might be as easy as trying to fiddle around and get this right. So I have got my mark just there at the 14 centimetre mark, and I've got my 18 centimetre mark on the other end just here, and then I'm going to join those two marks up, swing it round, and do exactly the same thing going the other way. So we want from this 18 centimetre mark just here, we want that in the centre of our groove, and take that across, to our centre point just there. So now, I don't know if you're going to be able to pick this up at all. We've got a score line that goes all the way at the middle of our card. We've got a score line that comes across here at 10.5 centimetres, and then we've got a line that comes from this 18 centimetre mark to this 14 centimetre mark, and the same on the other side. So that is the measurements. So that possibly is the most complicated thing, and what I'll do is I'll write those measurements out as well. So then let's just burnish these scores, and that one and this one going this way, and then if we bring that over there, so I'm folding that, so as this is coming up this way, can you see I'm folding that down, and it falls in very nice and neatly to this diamond fold card. So what you then need to do is just make sure that that's all nicely lined up, and go over with your bone folder, and there you have a diamond top card. So it's just, as I say, a question of measurements. So 10.5, 14, 18. Join those two up, and voila, there you go. So that's our card fold. So here's some bits I've cut earlier to decorate our bit of card. So I've got a piece of the stripy paper, so this is from that Bird Ballad DSP. What I did to cut this is I sort of opened it up, I laid my piece of paper, I cut it so that it was 10 centimetres wide, sort of laid it so that I'd got the border that I wanted at the bottom, and then sort of roughly by eye made a mark. It doesn't matter if it's not perfect because you're not actually going to see this top bit. So I sort of by eye thought, okay, that needs to come down to about there. So you can imagine you've got your piece of paper coming up this way, it needs to come about there, and I just took my trimmer and trimmed that off. So that is then just waiting to be stuck on there. So that was nothing more complicated than a bit of about there will do. As I say, the top bit you're not going to see anyway, so as long as you're happy that the bottom is looking nicely lined up, once this comes down you're not going to see it anyway. So there we are, we have our stripy paper on the bottom, and then I've got a piece of this daffodil yellow paper with the bird prints on. And because the bird prints are sort of quite random anyway, it doesn't really matter which way round those go. The birds could have been hopping in any sort of direction across the top there. Let's just line that up nicely. I've got a bit more of that yellow paper that I'm going to put down here. I'm perhaps going to put some twine around it first. I've die cut one of those labels in some Calypso coral card, and I've cut another one in Whisper White that I'm going to stamp on in a minute. I've got a little one here for my greeting, and I wanted to see whether or not I needed a bit more Calypso coral to go behind that greeting. But rather than waste card, because this is going to be tucked behind there, I thought we would die cut this label out of that label. I do this quite often with bits of card and labels and things. It just saves on your card. And the piece of card tucked behind is never going to be seen anyway because it's got something on the top. Why not make the most of it? So it doesn't really matter where that sits as long as it's got enough of a border around the edge for the label that's going on top to cover it. Let's pop that down there. That will sit on that one. That will go on there. And our little white one will sit on the top there, and nobody will be any the wiser that that's got a hole in it. Okay, so let's do a bit of stamping. I've already got my stamps on my blocks. So I've got here the birds on the branch, and I've got the greeting that says, "Your friendship means the world to me." And because I'm going to be colouring in with some blends, I've also got a Memento ink pad. So let's just tuck this to one side for a moment. Oh, look at that. I've just put my finger, a mucky finger, onto that die cut. It is not as brilliant the other side, but to save us having to scat around and find another piece of card, I will just turn that over for now. As my dad used to say, a blind man would be glad to see it. Right, so let's just, I'm going to line that up on one of the lines on my grid so I know that that is at least straight, and then decide where we want our birds to go. I think about there. Apologies that you're wobbling. So that's that one. Let's move that to one side, and then we'll ink up this greeting. Your friendship means the world to me. And we'll stamp that on there. Okay. So what I have done is I've grabbed some of my stamping blends. Wasn't quite sure what colours I'd want, so I've picked out the colours that I've got that coordinate with that stripy paper. I haven't got a Blushing Bride in a blend, but I've picked out a bit of Petal Pink because Petal Pink does appear elsewhere in that suite of papers, in that pack of papers. But I've got the Daffodil Delight and the Calypso Coral and the Old Olive and some Pool Party, so all those colours that appear there, and I've added in some soft suede and some crumb cake for the birds. So let's just do a little bit of colouring. So this is the dark soft suede, so I'm going to use this wherever there's sort of darker lines, or where the artist has drawn some sort of cross hatching and things on the on his picture. Then I will put down some darker soft suede, and then in between those I will just go over now and blend that out with this light soft suede. Right, let's just add in where some of those twiggy bits are. So the leaves we'll do in Old Olive, and again where there's sort of lines and veins on the leaves, we'll go in with the darker Old Olive. And obviously you take much more care over this at home. I've not yet had my dinner, so you know I need to bear in mind that I need to be finished at a reasonable time to have my dinner. I have sort of cooked all the ingredients for lasagna. Mike has, I think, just put it together in the dish, and we'll be throwing it in the oven at some point in the next little while, with the theory that about when I finish this live, lasagna will be ready to eat. That's the plan. We will see if that plan comes together. So there we are. There's some of the leaves. Have we got all of those? Now I think these flowers I'm going to do in the yellow, because I think I'd like to save I'm just putting down some of the dark Daffodil Delight. I'd like to save the Calypso Coral colour for the birds. I might put a bit of Calypso Coral. Oh, now that does happen sometimes, and I think a lot of it is about how you pull out the lid. Gotcha. There we go. If all else fails, I get my pliers out and sort it out. But yes, that does occasionally happen, that the whole top comes off, but it's soon sorted. A minor problem. Let's go over these with the light Daffodil Delight and just blend that out. Okay, now for our birds. What have I got here? I've got some crumb cake. So I've got a little bit of petal pink. I've got some Calypso Coral. I have got some grey in there. I think we'll use dark Calypso Coral for their beaks. And then I'm going to use some dark crumb cake, the sort of this shaded bit on the top of there. Of their heads. You don't want to get too far ahead of yourself, because you do want the ink still to be fairly wet. So let's come in with light crumb cake. I'm going to bring that in a bit further. And then we'll use some of the light Calypso Coral, and we'll just add in a little bit of that. And I'm going to go back over that with the light crumb cake. Just to give a bit of a rosy hue to their tummies. So let's do the other two now. So I think we'll keep them all as the same species of bird. We could obviously have done them all different colours. We could have had a rainbow of birds sitting on this branch. Hi Charlotte. Oh, it's a family affair this evening. Coming in to watch the birdies. So hello to Thea and Kellen as well if they're watching. So again, let's bring in a little bit of this light Calypso Coral. It looks really stark when you first put it down, but then when you blend it out, There we are, just have a bit of a pinky hue. So there's our little birds coloured in with our blends. If you notice on the back, you always get the colour seep through with blends. That's good, that's what you want to happen. It means you've put down a good amount of the ink, good amount of the pigment, and that's why you always colour onto something. You don't do it on your best oak dining table, otherwise you will have blends marking your table. Not good. Right, so I think we will add that onto there with a few dimensionals. Let's get the big ones. And we'll have one in the middle for good measure. We'll have that so that the points on the label are pointing to the points on the diamond. I think we'll just snip a little bit. And then, where are my snips? They're around somewhere, just there. Snip a bit of lace. About there, I should think. And we'll take a couple of little glue dots. And we'll have one on that end of our lace and one on that end of our lace. And just tuck that under there. Let's give that a press so those glue dots are pressed down. There we go. Now, and I thought for this little bit of paper just here, I've got some of the Calypso coral thread that actually comes out of the little box of embellishments that goes with the work of art bundle suite that we looked at. There's the pool party one. I've got the Calypso coral one just here. So what I'm going to do is just take a little bit of tape. That's better. And we'll just wrap that round there and stick it on the back. And then wrap that one round there and stick it on the back. Chop that off. Oh, that's perhaps a little bit too tight. Let's just release that slightly. We want it to be snug, but not so that it's bending up. There we are, that's better. And now I'm just going to add some Tombow to the back of that and stick that down. About there, I should think. And then we'll put our greeting onto our little Calypso coral mat. And we'll put a couple of dimensionals on the back of that. And then I think for good measure we'll just have a little bow . Actually, what I'm going to do, I did a double bow on something at a class the other day, and somebody went, I could hear them talking to each other. I don't know how she's done that. How's she done that double bow? This is how I would have done a double bow. So let's just, so I've got a piece of thread. We've got it folded in half. So we've got a double thickness just there. And then we'll just use that to tie a bow. Let's have a bit of a tweak with it. Didn't get that very central, did I? Never mind. So we'll have a bit of a tweak with our bow, and then this one we'll just cut the loop. That side we'll just cut the thread, and there we have a little double bow. So we've got a little double bow to stick on. So we'll use another glue dot for that, and we'll stick that just there on our little greeting. So there we have a diamond top birdie card with lovely bright colours, stripy paper. That's really quite sweet. And obviously then you can cut yourself a piece for inside if you want to, stamp on the inside, decorate the insides of your cards as well as the outside. But I won't do that now. I'm going to move on because I've got another bit of a fancy card for us. So we've gone down the fancy card theme this time. I think these papers, and these stamps, because they are so pretty, they do make you want to do fancy things with them. So for this card, I've got a couple of different stamp sets ready to do some greetings with, and there's all these beautiful feathers and things here. So what I did was I fussy cut them. So you'll be very pleased to know I've got a whole pile of them here, and you're not going to have to watch me fussy cut a whole load of feathers. But actually they look as if they're going to be really difficult to fussy cut. But you don't have to worry if there's a little bit of white showing, and you don't need to worry too much if you end up chopping off a bit of the feather stalk. I don't know whether that's what it's called, is it? Is it a stalk on a feather? I don't quite know. I'm sure it's probably got an official name, but I don't know what it is. If you do know what the official name for that sort of stalky bit on a feather is, the bit that sort of attaches it to the bird, then do let us know. The bit that would be used to create a quill if you were writing with it. So there we are. So we've just fussy cut a feather, and I'll add that to all the other feathers that I've got in here. So what I thought we'd do today is I thought we would do a floating die card. So it's just going to be a little floating die card, otherwise we might be here for quite some time. And what I've got here is a piece of press and seal. Now a while back, was actually when we did our international Facebook Live hop, I happened to mention that wax paper wasn't something that we could get just in the supermarkets here in the UK. We had to order it from Amazon. And some of my American friends were quite shocked at that. Well, guess what, ladies? Press and seal we can't get in our shops either. So this technique is often done using the press and seal. Other people have tried other things as well, but I did go on to Amazon and order some press and seal. So for those of us in the UK who are saying, what the heck is press and seal? It is like a supercharged cling film. So it is sort of a wrap that you put over your bowls and all these sorts of things. There we go, look. It sticks to everything. It's very sticky. You can use it to wrap food, and it gives you an airtight seal, a watertight seal. All of those sorts of things. Griptex technology is activated when pressure is applied. So leak-proof, airtight, multi-surface. Sticks to all sorts of things. So I have a piece of press and seal here. Now it is quite sticky, much stickier than cling film. So what I've found is that we need to just de-stickify it slightly. So what I've got here is a tea towel. Now rest assured that this tea towel is a tea towel that lives in my craft room. It gets washed periodically but then comes back to my craft room. It is not one that goes anywhere near any washing up. It did once upon a time, but now it has holes in it and ink stains. Oh, and apparently also a small spider. But I'm just going to rub this onto here a couple of times just to pick up a little bit of fluff and fibres, just to sort of unstickify it slightly. So we've done that. Let's move that to one side. So what I've got here is a square of Whisper White card, and this is a 9 centimetres square. I've got a black mat there that's going to go underneath it that is 9.5 centimetres square, and then from one sheet of thick Whisper White card I've cut myself 3 9.9 by 9.9 cards, so just under 4 inches these are, but you can get 3 of these from a sheet of A4 card, which is why that size is so useful, because we like to make the most of our card stock. So I'm going to fold, the chances are I'm going to want 2 of these, because the really lovely thing about this technique is you tend to make 2 cards at one shout. So there's the papers that I've cut, the sheet of paper that I've cut all my feathers out, and we've got quite a few feathers just here. So onto our piece of white Whisper White card here, I'm just going to randomly lay down at different angles, different colours, lots of these little feathers. Now you can do this with things that are punched, you can do it with things that are stamped and die cut, or like we've done here, you can do it with images fussy cut from your DSPs. Now don't have to worry too much if it goes over the edge. In fact, that might be a good idea to have some hanging over the edge. Let's add that yellow one going in that way. And have that blue and green one just there. Let's bring that down a bit more and have that pink one. So this is probably the most complicated bit really. Where are you going to put all of these feathers so that you're happy with how they look? Oh, no, we've got a yellow one just there, so let's not put another yellow one right next to it. This brownie one coming in here. Perhaps have another yellow just there. Pinky one. That's probably about enough for now. So we've laid down all our feathers onto our paper. And now, hopefully, without it any static making them move, what we want to do is lie that press and seal over the top. That was a pretty good shot. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is we'll give that a bit of a rub so that they've all stuck, and I'm going to pick it up, because what we want is our leaves stuck to our press and seal, not to our card. Now that one just there has moved a little bit. I'm not quite happy with that one. Let's start to move them and it all goes terribly wrong. Okay, that's a bit better. Right, I'm going to actually take one of the plates off of my Big Shot, and I'm going to lay that on my big shot, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut a circle out of the middle of it. Let's bring in our big shot. We'll put the other plate on the top, so we've now got that sandwiched in the middle, and our big shot will happily cut through both of these layers. We'll bring it back for good measure. And hopefully, as we lift this up, our feathers are still stuck. Let's take that die out of there. So we now have one sheet that has all those feathers on, and then this one that has some more that we need to pick up on there. There we go. So we'll lay that circle down for a minute. We'll put our big shot back to one side, because now comes the fiddliest bit of all. Because what we need to do now is we need to put lots and lots of little mini dimensionals on the back of here. Now, somebody had a tip for these, and I haven't actually tried it, but I think on this occasion we will. So I'm going to take one of my Stampin' Right markers and just go across the back of these. We might need to do a few more. And then we're going to put them on here. Now it may be that we may need to cut some down. And the idea behind putting your mark on the back, so that when it comes to peeling them all off, you'll know which ones you've peeled off, because they'll be the ones that haven't got a mark on. So we'll see if that actually does make life easier in just a moment. So sorry if this is a bit boring, but while I'm doing this, let's chat a bit about all the things I've been doing. So I have been very busy. If you go on to www.loveaducky.co.uk, I have been incredibly busy uploading all my events between now and Christmas to the events calendar. And the really lovely thing about my events calendar now on my website is that you can go into the events calendar, you can click on a class that you fancy. It will bring up the information, and it will say something like join here or join this event or something like that. If you click on that, you'll be able to pay with your credit card for the class, all in one foul swoop almost, and it's all very secure. I've got security certificates on my website, so you don't need to worry about it not being secure. And it just means that you're able to secure your place right there and then, get it in your diary, know that you've paid for it. I've got the money there ready to order your supplies. So as well as all the usual monthly county tour classes, they won't start now. The next one of those will be the second Wednesday of September, when we'll be back in Long Buckby. That's after my holiday. I have got a week's holiday before then. But you'll find those on there, so if you want to go and prepay those classes and book your space, you can do. So they're all on there. The class at home, so the Stamper Stacks and the Techniques class, because every month we have one Stamper Stack class and one Technique class. I have one class at home on a Wednesday, second Wednesday of the month, and one on the fourth Friday, and we do swap those about. So if you'll have Stamper Stack on the Wednesday and Technique class on the Friday, then the following month it will be the Technique class on the Wednesday and the Stamper Stack on the Friday. And the reason I've done that is that if for any reason there's people that can't make one of those days, they're still able to access sort of a bit of a variety of classes. So those are on there. We have the big Christmas card buffet coming up, 21st of September. You can go on there and you'll find all the different choices. So not only can you book your place, you can put in your choice of stamp set. There's a bingo in November. There's the retreat in October, so you can go, and there's various payment options on that as well. So you can just pay your deposit, you can pay half now and go back in and pay another half later. All sorts of things that you can do. I'm looking round for my piece of Whisper White card. Where has that gone? My card blanks. I have my black mat. Something always has to go missing on a Facebook Live. So where has that gone? How very odd. I've gathered it up there. No. I no doubt will find that in a moment, but in the meantime, let's just cut another piece of card to 9 centimetres square. I'll always find a use for a piece of white Whisper White card, so that's not going to go to waste. Right, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the backs off of these, and this is where we will see if that handy hint about colouring in the backs comes into its own. It does seem to, doesn't it? It does really make, you can really see which ones you've taken off and which ones you haven't. That is a good tip. Oh wow, welcome in then, Wendy. Away from your card making supplies. Well, the good news is if you I don't know how long you've been away, but I had to deliver an order to Barbara in Maudsley yesterday, and while I delivered her order, in her order bag there were 3 Christmas catalogues, one for Barbara, one for Janice, and one for Wendy. So if you haven't got it yet, it is there waiting for you, Wendy. So you'll have a Christmas catalogue to browse. With a bit of luck, you might have seen it, you might have had it before you went away, and you might be sitting there with your feet up now and your post-it notes going, oh, I want this and I want that. But if not, you've got that to look forward to when you go home. And I hope that Megan and the dogs do really well. I know they certainly have done in the past. We've been having a bit of laughter on a family Facebook WhatsApp chat today. My granddaughter Thea has declared that if they have a dog, she's going to call it Pasta. We've had whole conversations going on about what sort of dog it would be to be called Pasta. My husband actually found a type of dog that is called a Bolognese, so that obviously would be the obvious type of dog for them to have. But then we were making up names for all sorts of dogs. We knew when we got to collies called Flower that probably hysteria had set in and it was time to move on. Right, so what we're going to do now is we've got our backs all off on the back of there. So as we lay this down, that is going to stick onto that card. And then what we need to do is we need to carefully, and hopefully without taking too much colour, because of course as well as sticking it down, we've run it through the machine, so you do need to be very gentle at this point to try and avoid taking the colour off the paper. So it's a bit of a fiddly card. It's not one that you're going to whip up in 5 minutes. And with this press and seal, you can actually reuse it. Obviously, once you put a hole in the middle of it, it's not so easy to reuse it. But you can actually reuse it. And what I'll do now is I'll take my snips and we will go around the edge and cut off any bits that are sticking out that are now stuck to my scissors. No wonder I thought my scissors needed cleaning the other day when you do things like this. Okay, so there's all our feathers. And before I stick that on there, I picked out a greeting. I thought we'd have this wishing you a lovely day greeting. It's a nice big greeting and should fit beautifully in the middle of there. Yep. Let's get a lock out and mount that up. And I think we'll go with some stays on this one. But I'm also going to find she says hopefully a mat to go underneath it. So let's ink up that greeting. There we go, and then we will simply put that onto this black mat, because I think the technique itself is quite fancy and is quite a sort of, gives it quite a wow look. You don't need anything particularly fancy other than that to go with it, and then we'll add that onto card base. Like that. And then what you would do with the other one is you could just add that onto a front of a card. Again, you could add a black base underneath it if you wanted to. And I dug out another, this big painted glass with this lovely big imagery. I thought something like that, big thank you on there, would just be perfect. So what I will do is I will finish that off once the lasagna is eaten, and I will pop up a picture of that with the rest in a minute. So we will have a black mat, a white mat, our feathers in the middle, and that big thank you greeting across the bottom. And I think that's all that one will actually need. As I say, I will finish that one off in a little while and show you, so that you haven't got to watch me take off a whole load more dimensionals. But I have to say, the tip about colouring in the back of your dimensionals is a fabulous one, and one I think on these sorts of techniques I will definitely be doing again. So our two cards for this evening, two fancy pants cards to go with this fancy pants bundle. So we have a diamond top, really bright cheerful card, and then we have this floating die card, and you can see that they really do appear to be floating. They have it gives them a real sort of, they jump off of the front of the card. It is a really lovely technique, even if it does take you a little while to do it. So those are the really lovely cards that we've made this evening. Really pleased with those. Here's the one that we created on Monday that we cased from the catalogue. Another really pretty card using that laser cut card blanks. So thank you for joining me. I hope you enjoy the rest of your weekend, and do go and check out www.loveaducky.co.uk and see all those wonderful events that are coming up, because included in those there is my first ever online class that I'm going to do. So you're going to be able to order the kit. I will send the kit out to you wherever you are in the UK. It is only UK based, I'm afraid, but I can send you out the kit, and then you'll be invited into an exclusive Facebook group where we will have a 2-hour class using the kit to create some lovely projects, and you'll have lots of kit left over to create lots more. So that one is the class itself. The Facebook class is going to be on the 30th of October, but you do need to have put your order in by the 6th of October. So that's coming up, as I say, but there's lots of other things on there as well, including the retreat, which is happening on the 19th of October and is a real treat, not just retreat. It is an absolute treat. Come and take a day away to be pampered, to be looked after, to be fed, and just to spend all day crafting. It would be lovely to have you with us. So do go and check out all those lovely events, and I will be back to see you on Monday. Have a lovely weekend.